this is Nicole. I'm back, and today is Labor Day, and I would like to send this video out and begin a countdown to November 6th, to the elections. The Democrats are partying, rallying up their bases, and all the people that are going to go and vote for President Obama. And my God, I am speaking out to all fellow Americans. I happen to be a Jewish American woman, and I'd also like to speak to the Jews and the liberals out there. But let me just tell you this, that if you want more of the same of what we've had, this is almost like deja vu. Um, After watching the Republican convention, news comes over, good news from Israel. Several 100,000 RIA, Republican Israeli Americans, are rallying around the conservative movement. And that is a wonderful thing. I'm not here to tell you anything that you don't know. In fact, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not a politician, and all I can say is that most people hate politicians or strongly dislike them. And there's good reason for that. The reason we don't like politicians is because of people like President Obama. You know, I will never forget when he got elected, the course of actions that he took were in all of my years. And I am, not that old, not that young, but I'm old enough to tell you that there has never been a president in the White House that has had absolutely zero in this case is not a hero. He has no experience at being a leader or anything. He got elected because of one reason, because he was black. And you know what? I, as a Jewish American, want to share with you, I'd like to start a relationship because my station here is going to become a little news station. Thank God for the internet, because of the internet, you can hear my voice, and I really hope that it reverberates around the world. I hope that people hear me, especially people in the Republican Party. It's not easy to get involved in politics, and most people don't want to get involved in politics. You know why? Because they don't like speaking out of both sides of their mouth. And if we have ever had a president, there have been many who have broken promises and maybe not lived up to everything they said they would out there on the campaign trail. But this president, I remember when he got elected and millions of people were starving and getting fired. He had this amazing inauguration, the most elaborate ball I have ever seen. It was like the Prince and Cinderella. And that's exactly his story. After following politics over the last 4 years, I must tell you that I have never been so sickened in my life by just what has transpired in this country. I feel like, we gave a black man a chance to sit in the Oval Office, and he took our kindness for weakness. Now, I can say that because as a Jewish woman, as a person who, well, my grandparents and their parents were immigrants over from Germany. And, half my family was murdered in the gas chambers in Auschwitz. In fact, my grandfather made it over here at a young age, and he told me a story. He went to pick up my cousin who escaped the camps. He had the tattoo on his arm, and I bring this story up because it's a story of triumph and success. We, as a Jewish people, we came over to the United States of America as immigrants, just like our fellow Irishmen and the Italians and everyone else. And we didn't sit and cry in our soup like the black people are still doing today. Take a guy like Al Sharpton, this ridiculous guy who he is probably as sharp or as dull as the crayon in my crayon box. And I don't say that lightly. How a guy like this, he stirs up racism in this country. And it just makes me sick because, once I had a sympathetic heart for black people, and I really don't anymore. After listening to Condoleezza Rice, she is absolutely right. When she gave her speech the other night in the Republican convention, she stated it accurately. The civil rights movement right now is our children and getting them educated. And I just admire a person like her. I admire her tremendously because she talks about being a slave as a young child, being a victim. And, we are all products of our environment. But she had, as she says, great parents. And they told her that she could be whatever she wanted to be. And bygone it, she is. She is classy. You have to admit, Condoleezza, you are a class act. And the act part is really an authentic, just an authentic, genuine person. That's what you are. And I admire you. And I hope that the black people stop this racist stuff. And the Tea Party, for example, is a good example. Most of those people were they were from Middle America, a lot of them, and most of them were non-Jews. And I'd like to start a coalition of Jews. Right now, I have to speak out to my Jewish fellow Americans. Listen, we were slaves for 400 years. You sat at the Passover table, and every year you probably go and you have a Seder, and you remember what it was to be a slave 400 years ago. And you wonder why we do that every year. And the reason is because we're not talking about some biblical slavery thing that happened thousands of years ago. The reason we remember our history every year on the same date is because we're people who don't ever want to forget who's up there and who has protected us and kept us safe, and why we are indeed a free people today. Um, President Obama, forget about throwing Israel under the bus. That is another thing. You need to stop speaking Governor Romney about Israel and everybody. They speak about Israel as if it's a country. It is. It's a country. But Israel is also a people. Yes, that's Israel. They are the Jewish people. And it baffles me that, my grandparents and my uncles and half my family will go and vote Democrat, probably. And the reason why is because of the Republicans. Republicans, once you were a people who did not embrace everybody. And I believe that has evolved and changed. As far as the Democrats go, during the presidency of Truman, we had World War II. And he, was in that war. And a lot of Jewish people feel indebted. And when we came over here not as victims looking for the government to give us a handout or some food stamps. We came over here and did what we always do. We, without having any education, I mean, my grandfather, he didn't finish high school. And he started a business out of a cellar in Manhattan that was a very innovative company. And he ended up buying a huge building in downtown Manhattan and becoming extremely successful. That company still stands there today. I really just don't get, I heard on 60 Minutes, I forget her name, she asked Eric Cantor, why are Jews liberal? And, he spat and he stuttered and he couldn't answer the question. The answer is simple. Because Republicans, they don't know how to speak to Jews. And if you're Jewish and you're Democrat and you're liberal, the truth of the matter is if you look in your heart, or if you sit around that table that you do every year, maybe you go to the temple during Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and you remember that you're a Jew, well, I'm here to remind you that our sympathies have been taken for granted. I feel sorry for black people in this country because of President Obama. I mean, I kind of feel funny calling him president because he is so unpresidential. His wife, Michelle, is so unpresidential. I mean, I look at this new guy, Governor Mitt Romney, and I say, you know what? Yes, that man sounds like he has some experience. And something that really helped me embrace him even more was when he chose Ryan Paul to be his VP. And Ryan Paul, he's not perfect, but he definitely is bold and he does do unpopular things, and he has come forth with a few budgets that are very unappealing. Or who knows what the truth is anymore? You know why? Because we have news stations like Chris Matthews. I used to watch you when I was a little kid or when I was younger, and you used to sound like a journalist. Brian Brian Williams, I watch you out of habit, and you don't even sound like a journalist. It sounds like you're given these scripts and you're reading them, and you're not really reporting the news. So that brings me to my next topic, which is Fox News. Well, I have a couple of things to say about Fox News. They're the only news station that you can actually go to and hear some kind of a semblance of the truth. You could hear both sides. You have a few anchors on there. You know, most one of their most successful guys is Bill O'Reilly. Bill, I hope you hear this message because I have a huge beef with you. And I don't know if you want to beef with somebody who's been in the Israeli army. I would love to enter your no spin zone because somewhere along the line, about 5 years ago, you started becoming almost like this egomaniac who speaks to you. At first, your show was invigorating, it was delightful, it was controversial, it had a real it was just really entertaining to watch the news that way, you know. And I don't know what happened to you, but you used to speak to all of America. Now you speak to the Judaic Christian sector of America. And I gotta say, it is pathetic. You send out your apprentice, Jesse Waters, to find out who's voting or who's watching your show, and you toot and tout your own horn a little bit too much. We'll forgive you for that, but why don't you send him out and ask him to ask Jewish Americans if they watch your show? I happen to be one of them who does watch your show, but sometimes I cringe with disgust because you are just so unfair. You're really one of the only voices left. You have Hannity. He's on there now, and he speaks of Israel, and he has a sympathetic compassion, even though he's not Jewish. But he sounds like a humble man, and he sounds a lot more different than you do. When they had Glenn Beck on, a lot of people didn't like Glenn Beck. And, you know, I did. I like Glenn Beck because he taught you something. And I think that's why a lot of people did like him, and he became very successful. But he crossed the line, and like, I don't know if any of you Americans out there are realizing that free speech, well, I guess it's not so free since Obama's in office, because every day Glenn had that red phone, and it was funny. It never rang. I don't know if it was ever even plugged in. Was it? All I could say is, Glenn, you were great, but you lost me at hello when you started auctioning off your dining room set with the words humility, loyalty, um, some Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob words. I still think you are a brilliant guy. So here I am, and it's Labor Day. Um, I'm not here to make money off of spending my afternoon talking to people out there, but I feel I'm alone. I feel so alone because I just don't think that I can make a difference. That's why I never get involved in politics. Because you really can't make a difference. Nobody wants to hear probably what I have to say. Um, Sadly, I tried to contact the Republican Party, and the president of the coalition in Florida, he told me that under no circumstance was he going to pass my message along. And my message was simply this: Republicans, if you're a converted party and you want to reinvigorate this country and put us back on the right path under the Constitution of the United States, then you need to speak out and not worry about the Latino vote or the women's vote. Why don't you seize an opportunity that who knows when it will ever come around again? Obama has done you a great favor. He has squashed, Jewish people that have been Democrats, no matter how rich and successful they have become, they still go and they vote Democrat. And you have an opportunity right now to seize. And I offered to help. And sadly, I was turned down. So I decided to start this YouTube channel. Forgive me, my battery's running out here a little bit. But I decided to start this news channel. And I'm going to be here every day. This is my office. And I want you, whether you're Jewish, non-Jewish, it doesn't matter. You know what matters is that the United States of America remains the United States of America, a capitalistic country. And for all of you do-gooders out there, do good. Continue to do good. But realize the Democrats are not who they once were. Now, I would like to leave off on this note. This is how I lead my life. This is by James Michener. And this is about creating an extraordinary quality of life. The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He hardly knows. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does. leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both. And that's what we need to be doing in our lives. Going after our passions, living our dreams, having a country